Hi everyone, in today's session we're going to make a chocolate souffle. So this is going to be with a creme patisserie base. I've pre-made the creme patisserie, so you can make it fresh. For this recipe it's actually easier if you make it fresh so the creme patisserie is still warm, but I'm going to show you how we make it or how we can make the souffle when we start with a cool creme pat. Okay? So I've got all my equipment ready. I've got my resting tray. I've got everything I need. I've got some ramekins that I've already given one layer of butter to, and I've chilled them in the freezer. This recipe will make 4 souffles, and all I'm going to do, I've got a little bit of melted butter. I'm going to finish preparing my ramekins. I always believe it's important to prepare your equipment before you actually start, so you organise, you've got everything to hand that you need. Okay, so what we're going to do, a little bit of butter spread in the bottom, just a small layer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to brush upwards the ramekin. So it's going to help to push the souffle mix up into the ramekin, help it rise. Because we've put this in the freezer, the butter is going to set quite quickly around the edge of the ramekin. So we're going to get a nice layer of butter. And what I'm going to do as well, if you just see, I'm going to come right up to that top. What I want is as much butter right to the top as I can. That's going to stop the souffle mix from catching on the edge of the ramekin. And that could, if we don't do that, it could stick to the ramekin and prevent it rising. So I'm just going all the way around, making sure I've got a good layer of butter. All the way to the top. What you'll actually realise is that souffle is a very, very simple recipe to follow. But as in any recipe, the more simple it is, any small errors, any small faults, then it's going to go wrong. So, nearly there, nearly got all my ramekins ready. And just while I'm making the mix, I'm just going to put these in the fridge out of the way just so they keep cool, butter doesn't melt, soften around the edges, ready for when I put my mixture into the ramekins. So, good layer in there, a little bit in the bottom, and then that's all ready to go. Okay, so how are we going to start? We've got in here 150 grams of creme patisserie. It's been cooled, so I need to warm it back through. I've got 32.5 grams of cocoa, and then I've got my 140 grams of egg white, and I've got my 75 grams of sugar. This is very, very simple. All we're going to be doing is we're going to just soften and warm up this creme patisserie with the cocoa over a bain-marie, just nice and gently, just so it mixes together. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to make some French meringue. We're going to whisk this up, and then we're going to slowly add the sugar until it's stiff, and then we're going to fold it through. The places where this can go wrong, if you haven't prepared your ramekins right, the other parts are making sure that your cocoa is mixed properly with your creme patisserie, that your cocoa and creme patisserie is warmed up, so you actually they melt together and mix. Don't want any dry bits of cocoa in there. And then when it comes to the actual meringue, what we need to do is one, make sure we get the rise from it, make sure it's soft peaked before we add the sugar, and then what we want is nice stiff meringue without being over whisked. If we over whisk it, what's going to happen is the meringue can collapse, and then you get a flavoured souffle. Here I've gently warmed through the creme patisserie. The cocoa and the creme patisserie is just mix it together nicely. What I want is to make sure that there's no dry cocoa. It's thoroughly mixed, so that's ready to go. So that's all done. And just leave that on the side. I can put it back on the thing, onto the bain-marie, just to warm through a little bit more if I like. So now I'm just going to whisk up the egg white until it's soft peaks. Once it's sort of soft peaks, so just add a third at a time of the sugar. Just put a little bit of the sugar in, whisk it back up till it comes. Looking for a nice, aerated, glossy, stabilised meringue. So there I've got my meringue, it's all good. So what I'm going to do, just add a small amount of that meringue to my creme cocoa mixture. And that's just going to loosen it up, because you'll find out that as you're doing that, that goes quite stiff, the cocoa starts to set. And what I want to do is just make sure that all of that cocoa is mixed smooth through the egg. It's not marbled at all. So then we can then add our meringue, and we then won't overwork it when we're folding in that second lot of meringue. So otherwise we won't have a nice rising souffle, it will collapse, there won't be enough air in it, it'll have knocked it all out trying to mix it through. So, just to make sure it's all off, now switched over to balloon whisk. We'll add the rest of the meringue. This is where we have to work with some speed. The fat in the cocoa wants to make the egg white collapse. Being gentle with the mixture, I don't want to overwork it. I want to have what looks like a mousse. If it doesn't look like a mousse, then we've definitely overworked it. Okay. So just getting around the edges, just making sure. So now I've got my souffle mixture. Quick wipe down before I start. Clean as we go. Get out the moulds. I'm just going to spoon that souffle mixture into the ramekins. Right to the top. So if you don't have a proper souffle mould, you can still do this in a ramekin. You've got even just one big souffle mould. Your mum might have something like that at home. You can do a big souffle, it just takes longer to cook. So now it's about smoothing it off, finishing, and then it's ready to go into the oven. So I'm just going to swoop it off like that, all the way across with the make sure it goes right to the edges. And we're just going to clean it up. So I'm now finished with that, get that out of the way. We can just clean this all up. Bring it into the ramekins. So I've got the oven set at 190 degrees and I'm going to cook it for 8 minutes exactly. You need to trust that timing. Cook this souffle quite a few times and 8 minutes works perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my thumb, just going to go around and just take that mixture just away from the edge, just dipping just slightly into the mixture. That just makes sure that the mixture doesn't stick to that edge of the ramekin. You do that with all four. Like I say, if you're doing this in your oven at home, don't put it right in the top of the oven. Medium shelf. Right on the top of the oven, that could just start to catch on the top of your souffle. So that's 8 minutes exactly. So the souffle is done. I've cooked this at 190 today. I've also cooked this at 180. So I've just tested to see which works best. I actually think that they come out about the same. But with a rationale, it's a bit more powerful than your oven at home. So it might be between 180 and 190 degrees. But there's your souffle. It's risen nicely, crisp on the top, and when you cut into it, you've got that nice moussey texture in the middle, and then it's nice and crisp around the outside. Enjoy.